Hello, hello. Welcome to the Heart's Frontier. Maybe I'll take these glasses off. We don't need these. It's only an hour. All right. Welcome to the Heart's Frontier. I'm Kate Graham, and this is our weekly collective live energy reading. So let me know if you're here, if you're joining, just so I know the comments are working, and we'll get into this. I'll do a weekly live collective reading. And when I say the collective, it's like the collective of people who engage with and connect with me and this message. Hello, Alexandra, welcome. And who connect with this channel. So that's who the collective is. It's not like the entire collective of the whole world. And it's not, for people who just drift in and drift out and who don't find much value here. It's for people who understand these messages as important for their lives. And, I'm not here to help everyone. I know that. So I'm going to get into today's reading. This is for the 23rd of July to the 29th of July. But, whenever you see this, maybe it'll resonate if someone watches it in the future. No worries about missing last week. It's a lovely thing when people are able to come out, but it's also not an obligation. And I don't want people feeling pressured. So no worries at all. And yeah, I'm, I guess an update. I'm doing some really interesting things career-wise, but it's meant that I've needed, a momentary pause from YouTube and from my consistency here. And so talking about, and I've also got a new blanket here. This place, I didn't have a blanket, and I realize it's going to be a little while before I'm able to go back to Canada to grab some of my things, grab my mom's quilts and things. So I have something to be cozy with now. So yeah, I've been doing some different things career-wise, and in a good way, always focusing in, lasering in on what can I provide that is of the highest service to people, and what do people really need, and also what is my soul path, what leading to where am I being called to next. So I'm going to be doing a public speaking engagement this week at the end of the week. So I've been prepping for that. Empath Energetics is still running strong for this 5th round. It'll be the last round I do for a while, and then I will have the option open if people want to do 1-to-1, or if they want to take it self-guided, there will be a different rate that people can take for that. Continuing to do psychic work, continuing to help some people in person. It's, whenever I can have time and where there's space here at the center for helping people, then I do that still. And yeah, hypnotherapy work becoming really, really fascinating and interesting to me to explore more deeply. I studied for 2 years to get a certification for this hypnotherapy program, and it is endlessly fascinating, and I think has a really beautiful potential to help people, help you with seeing what it is that's at the bottom of a pattern, a repeated pattern that isn't working for you mentally. And I'm also experimenting with some personal challenges and quests and things. So I'm hoping that you guys are, along for the ride, in that maybe some of these things that I choose to do are also going to resonate with you, and we can kind of support each other. And I'll also be providing resources for that. So one of them is about waking up feeling refreshed. I think that's something a lot of people really crave. I know for me, the more I add into my life, the, sometimes more challenging it is to upkeep that level of energy, whatever energy is needed. So yeah, I might be starting with early mornings. I might also do forest walks. I will probably do some more fasting. That was a really, really powerful time back in February. I don't think I really talked about this publicly. Back in February, I did a fast for 7 days, just water. And actually, I should say just water and shilajit, which is a mineral, which doesn't really have calories to it, or a negligible amount at that. So that was really powerful for me because I almost didn't really notice. It was really surprising how easy it was for my body. But here I do a lot more movement, whereas there I could actually just rest, and it was okay to have low energy because I could work online, and I wasn't necessarily going and working out because I was living nomadically and didn't have a gym membership. So anyway, all that to say, There are some interesting things coming. I'm just so thankful for all your patience. And let's get into this weekly collective reading, what's going on this week. And I will do some readings for people. I would be happy, I was feeling this earlier, I would be happy to do some animal readings. We have animal guides as one of the card decks here, and reading into maybe some support for things. And so you could ask like, what animal is coming through for this area of my life, or you can just ask any oracle question that you have. And I haven't invited Instagram in because it just seems really like intermittent. So I'm just going to lean on YouTube and say, I think the people who are here get it. Okay. I'm getting this like funny feeling of like fuzzy headedness. Almost like people might be having a hard time thinking or seeing ahead or having clarity like about what's next. I'm definitely getting like fuzzy headed. That's what's coming through to me. So we'll just keep doing this and see what comes through. This says, I feel my way into faith one step at a time. So maybe this fuzzy headedness is like overwhelm. And, you know, when we get overwhelmed, sometimes it can be really difficult to get back on track and to feel like we know where we're going, right? I know for me, I tend to get lots of ideas coming through my head. And so it's okay that at sometimes you sort of get more into a fog or into a haze, and then you will find what are those real grounded specific actions that you can take that are your one steps at a time. I think what's important as you're deciding on what steps to take is to know what it is you're moving towards. I think there's a time and place for formless kind of dreaming and for just feeling into things. And then there's also a time and place for, you know, hey, let's get really clear on what is your actual goal. What's your specific goal and dream that you're looking for? And what would then be the bite-sized pieces that lead into that? We also have true manifestations are powered by service and love. I think that's another thing too, is as we're making these larger goals, to feel like it allows the world to be a better place and it allows us to also be of service in a greater way is important. This can really keep your priorities in check. There are times, I think, that we tend to think of manifestations as like specific items or like a general state or feeling that is like for us. And while that's useful, the reason that we kind of want to be at our best usually is because we want to be a more loving or higher energized part of society. We want to be a part of community, maybe a leader or something. And so that service piece is so crucial to that. I was just looking up some new things that is calling my attention. Perhaps for not even right now, but just even the next couple of years. I tend to get these ideas, and then in a couple of years from then, it'll take like full fruition, but it's like you step towards it over time. You know, this being here had been stepped towards over time. And I think in order to like make sure that those things are aligned, you have to be looking at what is that serving in a greater way. So, and it's funny as I'm saying that, it is clearing some of this, the fuzzy fog. So perhaps if you feel like you've been spinning your wheels or finding a lack of direction, maybe like just sort of having ideas or having ambitions, but then not really seeing how they make sense, to actually look at in what way that allows you to be of service to others and to give to others, and what would it give you to have more as needed. And I also have this feeling of saying you getting more doesn't take away from other people. You having more, the world is constantly growing and evolving, and you know, money gets printed every day, so it doesn't take it away from someone if you were to acquire or use more. And especially if you're a loving person, what is it that you're going to invest your time and energy into, and your money, your resources, and your love? How are you going to invest in these things to then make a better world and create this positive ripple out effect. We have Lady Portia, which is divine order. It says, do what you feel is right. An important lesson is unfolding. Hoo, hoo, hoo. The important lesson feels really key for us today. I'm trying to think of a good example here. It's like, okay, what's coming through is, I don't know if this is going to make sense. So this is the story that matches the feeling that I got. It's like someone trying really hard to have a garden and it just won't grow. It just doesn't yield the crops that you're looking for. And year after year, you try with the garden and you try the same things. You maybe try a little bit different, but the problem is that area is not fertile with like the land itself is not able to give. And so had you tried those same things, but in a different location years ago, it would have just already been ripe. And so it's almost like the important lesson is not to stay where things are not fertile. That's what feels like this important lesson. I also keep hearing the word vintage, which could speak to, well, it could speak to a few things, actually. It could speak to like wine and, but it could also speak to like older ways. I'm also hearing the word vantage. So vintage and vantage, which is interesting. Vantage, almost like an advantage, vantage being like an opportune place, like a right time, right place type of situation, or you're in an optimal place. So it's like the garden. You're not in an optimal place, then nothing will actually grow. But if you move, then you already have all the skills. As soon as you move, then it all comes through for that. I promise I'm not thinking about moving. I think it's really funny that I'm talking about this. I quite like being here for now. Interesting reading for this week so far. I'm also getting the sense that people are going to need to speak up. They're going to need to speak up and also speak to yourself, not in a way that feels self-absorbed, but in a way that actually allows you to have your needs known, or have your desires known. Have your desires known is more accurate. Yeah, speaking your desires out. And I think also building a sense of self-commitment. That's a bit of what I was sharing at the beginning too, with the quests, with thinking about different things that you might do, health habits or routines, or just ambitions for your lifestyle, perhaps, for your life in general. And it could be starting from a really basic place. It could be like, I'm just really struggling to feel okay when I wake up, to feel happy when I wake up. That could be a starting place, rather than I want to wake up at 5 a.m. and go on a run, like that could just feel like, woof, although if you're feeling ready to go for that, I mean, go for it. I used to say that all the time when I was a Weight Watchers coach. I would say that I had this dream of being an elusive 5 a.m. morning runner, which I would say is a joke. But then, the more I think about it over the years, I'm wondering if it is actually a desire. So I am going to start 6 a.m. forest walks, rain or shine, because I think there's something, I don't know. Do you guys find this, that sometimes when you put yourself through something that's like challenging or grueling, it teaches you a lot. And so it helps you feel stronger in other aspects of your life. I just feel like starting my day with a good amount of barefoot forest time, because I have barefoot shoes. So barefoot forest time, rain or shine, it's like you just have to connect with nature. You have to get your body moving, your blood flowing, and you don't really have to be awake yet. You can just be walking and be in this peaceful place. And walking meditation is, I think, really valuable. especially time in nature is really valuable. And I think going out, rain or shine, really helps you like beat adversities, right? It's you don't have as many excuses for yourself, I think. So that could also be a message for someone, is like not making excuses for the way things are. There's certain things that are like definite challenges, and it makes life really, really hard for us to go through. And then there's other things we know we're capable of resolving now, and we avoid that commitment to ourselves, usually because we're not valuing ourselves and what our soul mission is, what we're meant to give in our lives. Okay, then we have white eagle, which is ancestor spirit. It's funny, you know, when I do this psychic work, when I do intuitive work, I tend to feel different areas of knowledge in different like physical areas. And I was feeling the ancestor presence in the spot that I feel the ancestors behind me. The ancestor spirit card says, connect to your lineage. A family wound or pattern can be healed now. So just because you've been given a certain circumstance in life, you may feel like you've beat the odds, but you might be carrying patterns of that your family would have taken from some family member. It doesn't mean that needs to be carried through or carried on, right? If you resolve that, you've actually stopped the burden from continuing on in that same way. And yeah, that's what they call generational healing. I know a big part of my move to Scotland was exploring some of the ways my family needed to grow, or needed to become softer, needed to heal. There's a lot of harshness, I think, with a lot of our ancestors' lives. They lived really, really challenging lives. And at the same time, they didn't have the abundance of knowledge we have now. And I was just thinking about Einstein today. Einstein was known for, you know, obviously being a genius and being incredibly intelligent and skilled with putting ideas and thoughts together. And he would also just go completely gray and dark and be depressed for many, many, many long periods of time in his life. And I read something about him that said, I think this is true, but, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he wasn't forming proper sentences, like what we would say our sentences, until about 9 years old. So it's like all this adversity and this like not being capable of communicating and then feeling isolated. It's like that, you know, they say that there's a fine line between genius and sanity. I would also say there's a fine line between like this, or there's like a direct link anyway, between intelligence and depression. And so it's a part of like seeing that things are difficult and things are harsh, but our ancestors didn't have access to as much information. So I really do think about that. I wonder whether our increased levels of stress, anxiety, and depression, and, you know, a whole host of other things are increased because of how much we're seeing and how much we're exposing ourselves to, right? Because in the past, you just wouldn't know about atrocities in other areas, or you wouldn't know about the scale of them. Perhaps the scale of them has increased because the scale of our entire population has increased. It's a very strange thought to go on, but I guess that's maybe what our ancestors want to say, is that things are difficult now, and in general, they want us to find a way to make our lives less difficult. That's their hope. The reason that our ancestors would have worked really hard is to hope that we would find a better life. And so we need to not feel selfish, I guess, when we start to claim what that better life might look like for ourselves, or when we go in some different direction. Often our ancestors are like applauding us and cheering us on to, you know, my ancestors often will have some message of, you know, taking responsibility where needed and then having fun. And so it feels like the having fun and actually enjoying your life is something that, I don't know, we tend to feel a bit of that family guilt, like work is supposed to be difficult and hard. And, you know, that just keeps going. But when we step out of it, our ancestors are usually really excited, really happy for us. We also have Mother Mary, which is love and peace. I'm definitely being drawn to those roses, the rose energy. rose energy in like a very divine. I actually really feel Magdalene energy with this, because there isn't a Magdalene card in there. And I was thinking actually about getting a Mary Magdalene Oracle, but I'm not really in a mood for buying Oracle decks. I usually have enough for us. This says, let go of the need to be right. Choose peace. I also say choose peace for yourself. Choose internal peace. It says mother healing is possible at this time. So definitely family, definitely thinking about what are the qualities that your mother held that you notice in yourself, and which of those are needing to be addressed. And, your mother doesn't even really have to be involved in that. That could just be you healing these challenges and wounds that you've interpreted based on your mother just taking on whichever she took on. Okay, let me know if you have questions or if you'd like an animal oracle reading. I'm going to keep reading into the energy of this week, so maybe a little bit of what we need to do. I'm hearing stay flexible. So it could be that you're meant to do some movement this week. You're supposed to stretch your body and actually open up, create more flexibility. And this requires commitment and consistency. I definitely feel like that dedication. Yeah. We have surrender. So it could be a really good week for yin, stretching, for relaxing practices, for breath work, anything that gives you that feeling of surrender. It could be like a floating, if you have like a swimming pool nearby, or a river or lake that you can just float in safely. That surrendered feeling. I'm trying to think of what I have. There's a couple little water spots around here. I might be able to go do that. But also, if you have access to like a float tank, that was the first thing that popped into my head. And then we also have reflection. So definitely water, lots of water healing. And if you haven't been so great with your hydration, water healing would also be a really useful thing for you this week. A lot of people do not drink anywhere near the amount of water that they're meant to drink. It's actually shocking to me. I sort of lightly scold people about it all the time. There's a really different, there's base level hydration, and then there's like optimal hydration, and they feel different in the body. You're actually able to think more clearly. So that could be part of this brain fog, is that you're just sort of negligent, just sipping water with your meals. It's like nowhere near enough. So it could be that that's really getting highlighted for you this week. Imagine doubling your water intake if you're someone who doesn't really drink much. And, even not even imagine, just do it and see what happens. Because I found a big difference. Even, I used to drink 2 liters, and now I try to drink more than that, like somewhere around 3 or more. And it made a huge, huge difference for me just in that little gap. And so I thought I was pretty well hydrated. I mean, I'm drinking almost 2 liters a day. That's like pretty standard. That's like a lot of people hope for that level. But that extra liter more really, really, and maybe it just allows things to clean out and the cells to refresh more. And then we have magic. I was thinking a lot about the word magic last night. Yeah, I don't tend to dabble in magic because I feel like our world is magical enough and our life experience is magical enough that I kind of have this feeling that magic exists in the mundane. I rather like that. I think magic existing in the mundane is a much more special thought to me. But some people really do like this idea. I actually just keep feeling magic and miracles. And then we also have sadness. So I did mention that the depression link, the Albert Einstein thing. And so I do have a feeling people are going to be maybe walking this line. They're going to be kind of in between. Do I get sad about things not being the way that I dream them to be? Or do I step into what is magical and what's in my world right now? Feel free to ask your questions in the chat. I will get to personal readings very soon. And you can just say, give me an animal reading if that's what you'd like. You can tell me a certain area of your life that you'd like an animal for support with, or I can just read anything psychic or empath wise for you. Yeah, so it's sort of like, I guess that reflection and surrender feel very similar. You could use water for this. And it's also like, imagine your body floating and this water like supporting you and holding you. And the sadness almost like has a place there and it's allowed to be there, and you don't need to judge it or feel ashamed by it. And then as you shift, you're allowing this sadness, you're floating, maybe floating in a bathtub or something. That's always a funny thing. I haven't had a real bath in like a long time because I haven't had access to one. But when I do, sometimes if it's like a really big bathtub, it's like I can't like stay down at the bottom as easily. But I kind of like that like suspended sort of feeling. There also could be some sort of suspension in general in your life. Woo. Funny, I just dropped. I have this. You guys can't see it because it's like quite bright here, but I have a plant here, and I keep like running into it as I leave down. So it says, spend time alone and enjoy the moment. This feels like part of that surrender and reflection. This is our self-care cards for this week. Spend time alone and enjoy the moment, reflect and surrender. We also have take a full lunch break to reduce stress at work, like truly, truly taking an actual break, really separating your mind from all the blah, 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 what you need to do and what's going on. I've been practicing this because I actually got this card for myself like a week or two ago, and I'm not in my hair. And I wasn't in the habit of actually taking my full lunch break because I have these old habits from when I used to work a much more, a much more stress-inducing job. It was for a corporation, and I was a lower manager, and the middle managers really hated when I would want to take a lunch break, and it really rattled me. And so I have this pattern of just like, if you take a lunch break, someone's going to be thinking that you're not doing work, or they're going to think that you're not valuable. And here, there's a very different culture for it in the UK. There's like, actually go take your break. Or at least that's what it's like here in Inverness in Scotland. It may not be like that down further south or in Edinburgh or something. Maybe it probably depends on who you work for. Maybe there's corporations here where people they'd be like really high stress. But either way, taking a full lunch break, taking a full meal break to actually be with that rather than letting your head keep spinning, it allows you to also have much better digestion. This says take 5 minutes to enjoy the view and take the world in by your window. I love this card as well because I have this beautiful window and I do love taking the world in. I think it's really important to have like staring out into space time. And that's when some of the sadness can like come up and actually be connected like to your own mind. So it's almost what I say, and this is part of what I'm going to be talking about in Cambridge this week for my public like TED Talk style thing. Is talking about how when we stare at a wall, it engages this aspect of our brain, this brain state that allows us to receive intuition and clarity, and also allows us to process emotions from our subconscious. So staring at a wall, meditating, journeying, dreaming, daydreaming, it all gives us, hypnotherapy, hypnosis, it all gives us this same brain state that allows us to access and pull things from subconscious up to conscious, which is exactly where we want them. And then we can decide what to do with that once they're up. But it's like we can't know what we don't know when it's in our subconscious. Okay, I see your questions coming in. I'm just going to read this last card for now, and then I'll answer those. It says, leave a positive message for someone else to find. So I want everyone who watches this in the replay and also is currently watching to find a way to do this week. This is not a difficult thing to do. This is something that takes a couple minutes of your day and can make a really strong impact on someone. You could do a digital message. I think it's so nice to get a handwritten message. I really do. So I think if you do a digital message, you should also do a handwritten. How's that for homework? So leave a positive message for someone else to find. And when you're leaving a positive message, think about the experience the person has. This is not about you. And I think that's a beautiful thing to do as well, to just step outside of ourselves and try to have compassion for someone else's experience and give them a message that actually really would benefit them. Sometimes I receive messages from people who are on their healing path and looking for some sort of support, but aren't taking the extra step to actually come and work with me, which is fine. You know, I know that that's a part of my work, that there will just be people who hang around and hope that, you know, I'll just be helping them in personal messages and things. But what I often find is that they're really not thinking about what that experience might be for me. Like I just imagine sometimes I go, it's very bizarre, but when we are in distraught or chaotic or stressful places in our mind, it is very difficult to have compassion. It's very difficult to step outside of ourselves and connect to someone else's energy. So whenever possible, it's good to practice these little moments of thinking about someone else's experience so we can get out of our own headspace, especially if our headspace we're finding to be stressful. Okay. Woof. I'm feeling so like, I feel like my eyes are really like sore and sleepy, and that wasn't happening before I started doing this reading. And it's almost like that foggy fuzziness has like shifted into here. And I know I've been touching my eyes a couple times during this. So it feels bizarre. It feels interesting. Like it's something about seeing clearly that's going on in this collective. And it feels like tired of looking, tired of searching or something like that. So I don't know who that resonates with, but let's go to Alexandra, and anyone else feel free. I know that there's like a whole bunch of different people jumping in on these on this YouTube live. So the number has shifted from like 2 to 7 in a matter of like minutes here and there, which I don't really think is true. So let me know if you do have a question. I'll see it in the comments. Let me know if there's anything you want to ask me for weekly energy, or I can do animal spirit cards for support. Sean, and let me know if there's a specific area of life that you'd like me to read for you. I am happy to pull some cards. I would definitely pull a spirit animal card for you to get started, but it's cool if there's like, if I know what kind of area you're looking for the support with, maybe the animal will be that much more potent. Okay, Alexandra, I can feel Jess has been thinking about, thank you, Sean. That was speedy. Love it. I can feel Jess has been thinking about me on Fridays, 2 weeks ago, sometime in the daytime, and then again in the evening, and this weekend on Friday evening. So it seems like he's more looking into opportunity to go out on Friday nights. He doesn't have a place to go. So he's thinking about me and debating whether he should just come. Do you have a question, Alexandra? Do you have a question? I'm going to pull for Sean just because I'm going to get started on these readings. Let me know if you have a question. I am, so difficult. I always make sure people are really searching for actually asking. I think the Oracle of Delphi, this Greek oracle, would have done the same thing. I really feel that in my heart, that she would have said that she was not willing to answer certain questions, that she needed to know something in a certain way, that it would be a bit of like a philosophical challenge, sometimes to how do I feel about it? It's a funny one. It's a funny one to answer. It's a funny one to answer. Is your feeling right? Okay, I'll explain. I was thinking that's what I'd talk to. So I will explain that a little bit, but I want you to think of another question also. So if another question comes into your mind, Alexandra, you let me know. Organizing my cushions here. Okay. Yeah, all right. Ooh, Sean. Very interesting. Very interesting. I actually really want to. I have at the bottom of the deck, it's not one of your cards here, but Swan Spirit, which says, time for a deep dive. So, time for a deep dive, time to do some deeper work, which is always a good thing in my mind, always an exciting thing. I'm also going to pull Earth Magic because you're asking about work as well. And work is of the earth realm. It's of the material realm. It's part of our natural way. Your animal for work is Stag Spirit, which says, take the lead. Yes, Jay, I can totally do that after I read Sean and Alexandra. Let me know if there's a certain area of life or a question that you have that you want an animal spirit for. So, so Sean, you have Stag Spirit, which says, take the lead, which I really like for work. I think that, maybe it's just the Aries entrepreneur in me. I think it's a good thing to take the lead with your career. You spend so much, we all spend so much time in our career. One of my best friends, she's a Pisces, which means she's a bit more go with the flow. She doesn't want to ever be the lead. And she's been assistant editing for a long time in the film industry. And I think that's such a perfect position for her. But even though she is an assistant or she's part of union, she is still an independent contractor. She gets to choose yes or no for the contracts and work that she takes on. All of us say yes to the work that we're doing. None of us are stuck in the work that we're doing unless we choose to stay in that work. So if it is not satisfying on a soul level, we owe it to ourselves to take the lead of our own lives and to make decisions that actually bring us into a place of satisfaction with our service. Ooh, I like that. Satisfaction with our service. So, very interesting. So also for this work, you have childhood, which is innocence, and music, which is harmony. So do you feel light in your work? Can you use this stag energy to take the lead towards a lighter existence as it relates to work? I feel such a dense heaviness actually as I tune into your work field, which it doesn't feel good, right? It just doesn't feel good on any level, on an emotional, mental, soul level, or probably on a physical level. I just felt like someone, it's funny. I just felt like someone who has a lot more muscles, a lot larger than me, just kind of went down on my shoulders. That's like a big, it's like a big burden. And so I just want to say, nothing is permanent. And I really like there's sort of teamwork in these. There's two kids here, and then there's two women here, this harmoniousness. That would be a value. Do you feel like you have harmony in your work life, in your work connections? You lost your job after 18 years. Yeah. Okay. Well, this makes a lot of sense. I'm sorry to hear. I do feel like this is a really, really opportune time to open up to your own, because this childhood, it's reclaiming a part of yourself. What did you want to do when you were a kid, actually? I feel like there's going to be some link to what you wanted to do as a kid and to what you'll actually end up shifting into now. So take the lead. Is yeah, that job, thank you for letting it get out of the way. It's maybe an annoying thing to hear, or maybe it might be not the right timing to hear that. But perhaps you'll end up coming back to this if it doesn't feel like the right thing to accept now. But anyway, it feels like a divine redirection. I say all rejection is divine redirection because in many ways, don't you just not want what isn't aligned, right? I don't want some job to come into my life that isn't meant for my soul and to stay there for many years and have me feeling like I can't leave it. It's I want, and this is, again, maybe from my my entrepreneurial bias, I think it's really important for us to feel empowered about the decisions we make in work. So like I said, my best friend, she wouldn't consider herself an entrepreneur, but in many senses, she's this independent contractor. So she takes on the jobs that she wishes to have, but she has the support of a union. And of course, she has, certain gigs that she could easily take, but she tries to take things that really feel important to her or feel like some kind of connection with, and she'll get pitched things and she'll say no to them because they don't work, and that it feels like a good thing to say no to. So I'm hoping that's true for you. And we have faith and success. So I would say these are some super great cards for work to have come out. This harmony, innocence, what leads you to feel lighter? Thinking of starting your own biz? I would say go ahead, but I also think that's the future. I think our economy requires us to be more empowered as individuals. And I think with the advent and invent of new technologies and with the amount that people can do on their own and the amount of knowledge and access we have to anyone who feels inspired towards entrepreneurship, I really do feel needs to pursue it. I think it's an important thing for all of us. So faith and success, I think the cards are on your side there. Relationship wise, we have Buffalo Spirit, which says the abundant universe will provide. So hi, that sounds amazing. This is a really, really rich reading. It seems like this partnership is actually going to be really key. I don't know whether you're considering partnership with someone as a business partner even, but relationships in general, it feels like there's just so much more to be had. That's what I keep hearing. It's there's just so much more. There's so much more to be had. You have grounding. I think this is also very, very buffalo, right? Think about being a buffalo. Ugh. Rooted. tree, grounding, buffalo. It really does feel like that. Feels like this deep, oof, putting your feet down with your partner. But there you go. All right. So I know what I'm talking about here, I guess. You also have wolf and instinct. And this feels like kind of similar to the stag energy. Take the lead, trust your instincts. It feels like you kind of have to see yourself as a leader and sort of being on top and being capable. And I'm seeing a lot of like this divine masculine imagery. So you might want to find some kind of guide, some kind of deity or something, maybe, or just some sort of idol. You know, I love my Albert Einstein as an idol. So, you know, I would, if I was making a vision board, which I have been doing recently, but I'm kind of wanting a tangible one. You might want to do that as well, actually, making a vision board specifically. What is the kind of life that you really ideally want to build for yourself? So then you're queuing it up and you're seeing it as possible. If it exists in a tangible form, it could exist for you in your life. So that's really cool. Very cool. Okay. Alexandra, let me know how that resonates with you, Sean. I feel like those are very supportive cards for, you know, what you're asking about. So I feel good about saying, yes, go forward. Buffalo, wolf, some really, really strong energies, very strong. To just know that, just like have this bit of faith and all success is yours, and taking the lead means you get to make your choices and things have to go your way because, you know, you're the one putting it out there. And it's if you rely on these instincts and you trust yourself to be able to say, yes, no, you know, I feel it really, really direct. Resonates. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. That's great. Alexandra, how do I feel about it? Is my feeling right? So I do feel, I don't know. I haven't found it yet where I don't believe this, but I believe it could be possible. I haven't found a time yet where I feel like if someone's thinking about someone that you're not also feeling it. Like I haven't found that to be true. I think it could be possible that I meet with someone and they say this person's always thinking about me and I go, oh, I don't feel that that's true. I haven't found it yet. So in this case, Alexandra, I do feel like you're right, that you can just feel, you're sensitive, you know, he's thinking about you. The fact that no action was taken tells you what you need to do right now. And I feel like a lot of guiding you or asking you to stay in the present moment and to pay attention to what's present and here, because I just don't sense his readiness is there to be able to do something about it. Yeah, missing you, but I think he is considering you as someone that he enjoys spending time with. But yeah, it's not necessarily building in a level of camaraderie or teamwork or support. You know, in contrast, it doesn't feel as harmonious. So let's see, Earth Magic, if there's anything in here. Yeah, I have solitude coming in through here. So I do feel like solitude is an important part of things. I also feel like it's important for you to think about what it is you truly desire and what you're truly looking for in partnership. And then again, it's this bringing yourself back to the present moment so that you're not going to take later on information as if it's true now and then be upset by the fact that there's distance between those two. I hope that makes sense. And says, before going to bed, take a few moments to reflect on your day. And it also says, make a list of amazing things that you take for granted. So finding a way to be really thankful and really appreciative for what does exist, because, you know, truly thinking about him, thinking about you, thinking about him, thinking about you, going back in a circle. When you think about him, thinking about you, and then it's like another rejection comes through because it's like, oh, he didn't even act on that. He's not even coming over. He's not actually doing anything about this. It's almost keeping yourself in a place of lack. And the truth is, you have a lot at your disposal, and there's so many other bigger priorities, I feel, in your life. And I tend to kind of pick away at this feeling, and you know I do. I keep feeling a feeling of, oh, I just feel like there's more. There's like a priority or a focus that is like kind of being circled around. And so being thankful for what exists in the here and now keeps you from focusing on the stuff that's not here. So we have determination, and this feels like a personal journey. So we have that solitude. That's good you don't feel rejected. I feel like looking into the thought of he's thinking about me and, oh, he's just doing that out of boredom. It's, now I know that you're not together. I just feel like it brings up the same, maybe rejection feels like too harsh of a word for your brain, which is fine. It feels, the feeling I get is sort of like, and it also might just be under the surface a little bit, that when you're faced with a, well, there's still nothing here, then it's like, well, there's nothing here. And that's not really an energy or thought pattern that I would want to like encourage you to go towards. Whoa, there's a helicopter. So maybe you're going to be traveling. That was a really exciting helicopter. That was like a lot of energy. I just want to know I'm so meaningless that I'm his spending his weekend alone when he could be in company. I didn't quite understand that sentence. I'm not sure what you're, so maybe just take a minute and put together what it is you want to say. Yeah, I don't think that you're seeing you being together. But even then, think, so if you don't see yourself being together and then you're spending time allowing yourself these thoughts of him thinking about you, then, and still curious about it now, a couple days later, it means that he's sort of been a part of your, well, you might see it that way. I don't see it that way. He might be seeing his energy as a part of feeding the part of you that doesn't believe you can do further or more, or you can progress, or you can have more, or you can enjoy your life. So it's almost like he can become the thing that you blame for the way that you feel about yourself. And we all do that in different ways. So it's nothing to shame you. It's really, it's a difficult thing we have sometimes, that something's going on inside of us where we don't really feel our own value, or we don't really see our own life as like enjoyable. And then we're like, well, that's why. We point a finger. So I would say, get that finger pointing in so that you can just focus in on what it is you're meant to do, and what you're meant to do next. I really see you traveling. That helicopter felt very auspiciously timed to me. He doesn't really want to see me. He's just looking for a place. Well, I mean, he hasn't said anything like that, so you can't really know that. And it's not really worth the energy and time. So this is a very, very important message here. Parrot Spirit says, watch your words. Watch your words. Watch the way that you're speaking to yourself. And the way that you're speaking to yourself is going to inform the way that you think. Your beliefs inform your thoughts, your actions, your feelings. That's what I feel. So CBT, it says thoughts, actions, feelings are all in a triangle. I believe that subconscious beliefs are at the core of all of these things and inform how we react to things in life. It says Wasp Spirit, sometimes life stings. So we have watch your words. Sometimes life stings. Sometimes life is really tough. And that's what I'm feeling here in your reading, is that things just feel challenging, but you also have this determination card. This is meant to be your focus. It also feels like you're climbing this mountain on your own. And even though that can feel grueling, it also feels incredibly empowering. One of my friends, she's really, really cool. And she like lived in Russia for a few years. She's a cool linguist, and she now lives here in the Highlands, and she's bagging Munros, which means there's Munros, I think, are 3,000 feet above sea level. And it's a Scottish thing. People are trying to bag all the Munros, which means they're trying to climb all of these mountains and have the list. And she'll do it alone most of the time. And it seems so peaceful, just staying on the peak, and being in this expansive place. So Wasp Spirit, which says sometimes life stings, is saying these things are tough and it's time to get climbing this mountain. And says also now is a lucky time. We have Rabbit. I also say some connection with children feels really important here for how you're healing through this. And I would be really, really mindful. I'd pay a lot of attention to the way that you're speaking to yourself internally and externally, that you would be supporting yourself, that you would be helping yourself climb a mountain. What I feel some of these comments is almost like again, it's putting the energy and the responsibility outwards. Someone else is adding to how you have value or not, which is not true. You have full value, totally separate from any other person. And I'm also feeling like it's like you pushing yourself down the mountain. And it's like, why would you do that? It's like you against you. It's like Rocky versus Rocky. I don't know. It's a really funny, sort of like a funny, maybe not funny, but like it's a silly, battle to get into, is like you against you on a mountain. It's like you're trying to climb a mountain, and then another version of you is standing on the mountain going, no, no, no. So that's what I'm feeling. Take from that what you will. Let me know how it resonates, or what I would actually say what you might do this week to tune into this thankfulness, this gratitude, the determination to step forward to climb this mountain. What's something that you're going to do to keep your thoughts also in this forward moving place? Jay, can you pick up a spirit animal card for me? Something about that can help me take my mind off the past. Everyone's feeling yanked backwards today. Oh, gee willikers. I will definitely pull a spirit animal card for you, Jay. I'm just really feeling for this collective right now. Whew. Feeling and breathing through it. If it's as simple as that, if that's all we got this week, breathing through it. Wolf spirit, turn knowledge into wisdom. So Jay, sometimes we review aspects of our past in order to learn something that we need now. So I would not push any thoughts away from your past. If they keep coming up, what I would do is use them for something, right? They circle back because they're like getting ignored. It's like boomerang, boomerang, boomerang. And that can be annoying for us to experience, because like, yo, can I just stop thinking about this? This is so annoying. I don't want to keep having to deal with this, right? That's in the past. I can't do anything about that. But the thing is, there's a feeling or there's a piece of wisdom that you need to review and take in and actually do something with. So maybe the suggestion I could give you could be write a list, a quick list, just write some notes. I think it's just always good to get things on paper. Write a list of what are these scenarios, stories, feelings that you are reviewing. And you're not reliving them, you're just reviewing them, right? So whatever's coming up as like these things, maybe look at what is then the lesson? What's the moral of that story? What is the takeaway? What do you want to be different? If you're like, I hate the way I was raised because of this one fact, okay, then what is it that you want to do to raise yourself now in this life? If it's something like, I was so embarrassed by this one thing that happened, well, what did that feeling give you? And what relation does that have to do with anything that's coming up in your mind today? I noticed this. I was posing for Life Drawing yesterday, and just to explain why I'm saying that, it's hours of zoning out and kind of being in your own mind. So it's actually quite meditative, and you have to stay in one position for certain amounts of time. So it's like kind of this mental, physical challenge, which I really enjoy. And I enjoy the art part of it as well, just getting to see what people do. But it something dawned on me that the songs that come into my mind are coming in to tell me something, and I'm often ignoring them. Whereas a few years ago, I was actually really in the habit of listening. So when a song would come into my mind, I'd be like, ooh, that's telling me this right now. Or, oh, that has this type of meaning. And I was like, oh, that was such a little magical habit that I had. It's so weird that I just stepped out of it. And so I started having these loops of thoughts that would, like songs that would show up in my head, and they would mean something. And so these thoughts that are looping back, and these memories that are looping back, they could be there for some reason for your growth. They could be there to review in a way to support you with moving on from that past and letting go of it. It could also have to do with your ancestral healing. Definitely, if it has anything to do with family or repeated patterns, it deserves to be dealt with rather than pushed away. And give away something that you've been holding on to. You might also want to share this. You might want to share this with someone that you care about, or with a support person, maybe with a group of people. give away something you've been holding on to. So if it's shame or if it's frustration or if it's confusion, give that away and see what happens. See whether someone else is able to support or help with it. Sometimes getting it off of our minds into the real world allows us to assess it better. I know I was like planning this talk that I'm doing this week. It's the same week. It's this Friday. I was planning this talk and I was sort of coming up into my head. Oh, soul circle soon. I was sort of coming up in my head about all these different ways that I might talk about something, but it was sort of formless, right? And I went and spent time with a friend yesterday and just talked to him about, here are my ideas. And I realized, wow, this is way more together than I thought. But I didn't know it until it was actually out of my head and I was actually speaking it out. And you might find the same is true for you. It also says take time for an evening skincare routine. And I think this is just general self-care that actually you're being asked to commit to something that feels connected to your face and to your vision, to your even if it's just an extra add-on, that you add some sort of like meaning into your self-care routine. And it does feel more like beauty or like hygiene or something related. It does feel more connected to that. So I'm curious what that could be for you. Let me know if that resonates with you. And I think this is all the time that I have today. I'm going to go jump into Soul Circle Oracle. We do that every week right after this YouTube weekly collective. So if you'd like to be part of a Zoom call and get some really helpful, supportive advice and be in a conversation where people go, you can see, these patterns that all of us are experiencing. I think it's like a level up from these live YouTube readings. And if you want to say a thank you for these readings, there's no pressure, no expectation, but I do have a PayPal donation button on the bottom of my site, theheartsfrontier.com. And if not, you can save your pennies and do some really cool hypnotherapy work with me. You could join the Soul Circle to take part in some of our quests. I definitely think that would be a cool thing for us to work on it with hypnotherapy, Jay. So yeah, I'm all about that. That's a good call. Good call. So yeah, maybe just thinking about it, but also, I mean, you deserve to feel better until that time. I'm going to be busy this week. So, I don't want you hanging on to this stuff for a week. I hope that what I've said also can resonate and make sense for in between that time. I am feeling travel in the cards for a lot of people. So if that's something that can help you feel lift, I just get this really big feeling of like, you're doing it, keep breathing, you've got this. And the stuff that's coming up for everyone this week is stuff that's necessary. Let it come up, let it live out in the real world. Share it with others as needed. And and your animals are with you. These animals have been a really big support for us today. So I might actually take that into the Soul Circle. So thanks for letting me be inspired with these animals, everyone. And so enjoy the rest of your week. I will be popping in with some YouTube shorts this week, at least to just update you about my talk and my travels, because I think people like to see that. And so maybe some other things as well, some hypnotherapy things. We'll see. It's a really full week. I'm also on a podcast on Wednesday. So yeah, wishing you well in your week. I'm going to go join the Soul Circle now, but enjoy, take care, and we'll see you next Sunday, same time, same place. Take care, everyone.